Meeting of the Clay Township Board on Tuesday, October 12th. The time right now is 6 p.m. Could we please rise for the Pledge of the Flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first order of business is the approval of minutes. May I have comments, please?
So moved.
I second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are going to insert public comments after this particular portion, and we'd like to invite those that want to speak to do so. Doc, you've got a form filled out. Yeah. You have a form for us, too. Are you speaking tonight?
I'm just going to ask a question on an update on the museum. If there's anything.
We'll speak to that.
Yeah, okay. Could you fill out a public?
Well, he's not going to talk. I'll just give an update.
Okay.
If you don't have a specific question, we'll just give a general update.
Just a minute, Doc. We're almost there. All right. Thank you. It's
There.
Green light on?
Yeah, green light. Okay. I'm Jim Dillon. I am actually the Deputy Township Trustee, which is not a reimbursed position, I might point out. I am bonded, and if something happens to Doug and I can sign a check, which I think I've done once or twice in a number of years. So, but I served on this body for 18 years. I want to tell you a little story. My great-grandfather was born in Elbert County, Georgia. His father was a slave owner. He despised slavery. He came with him to Louisville in 1847, and his father was called back, and we don't know why, to Georgia, and he stayed there, and then a man named Filbert Wright talked him into going to Salem to teach school because he had been tutored by a man from a college on the East Coast, and he could read, write, and figure and handle things. So he moved to Salem. 3 years later, he married Eliza Click and proceeded to have a number of kids, 5 of which were sons. And he was on his way to Kokomo to take a teaching job when the horse broke down in Clay Township. And Filbert Wright got him quarters off of 116th Street, and he taught school here for 7 years. But he was appointed by the township. He was appointed to the township board in 1853 by the commissioners of the county, and he was the secretary. There was no trustee at that time. Trustee didn't come until quite a bit later. And then he stayed there, and then he decided he wanted to read the law, so he moved to Noblesville and found out he couldn't make a living at that, and he was a farmer, and he had a place, and then the war came along. And Indiana had a draft before there was a federal draft. And so he didn't want his boys to go. And at age 42, he joined the 5th Indiana Cavalry. And he was the supply sergeant because he could keep the books and figure things out and order things. And 1 month before the end of the war, he died in a Confederate prison camp of dysentery, never came home. He's got a stone in Noblesville, but his body is not there. It's in a common grave in North Carolina. So I've got a lot of involvement with the Township Board. I am here to talk to you about a proposed museum that the Historical Society may or may not want to drop Township off of our name. And I am diabolically opposed to that. We have two funding bodies in this community, and it's worked very well having two. You can play them off against each other, but you get money from each one, and it's worked well. And I have a letter I'm going to give you, and I didn't give it to you first, because if I do, you'll read the letter and you won't listen to what I say. But I'll give it to you at the end. But this was written by Judy Hagan, who was a former trustee and my good friend, and my wife helped her do it. And she cites a number of instances where we use the Carmel Clay Township moniker as our names. And I think we should keep that on this new museum. I do not think we should abandon that. And I think we should support it. You are supporting it. You're building a building on the east side at Badger Park. And so anyway, if you have a question, I'll be glad to answer it. I do have the Historical Society's stationery here, and on their top they call it the Carmel Clay Historical Society, Bethlehem/Carmel since 1837. I thought we'd drop the Bethlehem, but I'd like to keep Clay Township involved. Any questions? If you have them, I'll give you my letter.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
Debbie, do you have anything to say? No, thank you.
You wait just a second.
It's always a pleasure to talk to Dr. Dillon. He has so much information. He can give his own history lesson. Our board has discussed the name of the museum, and we are continuing to discuss it. We know where the funding came for our building. We are very clear on that fact. There is no question. I know at one point there was a possibility it would be called a center, and I did hope that it would be a museum because that's what it is. But more than anything else, we all are Carmel, and we're in Clay Township, and I think that our board will listen very carefully to what both Judy and Dr. Dillon have talked about. I'm not a voting member, but I am somebody who will be speaking up very clearly about what I think is the best thing. And we appreciate your help. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak? You said you have a question. Please.
Well, he wants a general update on construction, I believe.
Oh, right. Okay. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Thank you very much. We're going on to action items. Adoption of the salaries. Doug?
Yeah, in front of you, you have the form number 17 from the State Board of Accounts that they use when they audit our books. And what I've done is I'm asking you, and I had written down there at the bottom for receptionist and administrative assistant at $15 an hour, and I'm requesting that you change that to $20 an hour. I see the city of Carmel's paying $24 an hour, and I've been thinking a lot about it. But so, you know, when we bring somebody into our office, it's very important because we have to have people that knows to keep their mouths quiet when they're out there outside of our office because of the clients that we have come in. And so, you know, I started thinking about what city was paying. I'm thinking, you know, we need to move ours up. So I'm asking you both to, all three of you tonight, to move that to $20 an hour.
All right, I think we need a motion, and then we'll discuss it. May I have a motion, please, on the adoption of the salaries?
So moved.
There's a second.
I second it.
All right, any comments? How do you feel about raising it up to 20?
I don't know how you would hire anybody at 15.
You're not gonna hire anybody.
Right now, you can't hire anyone.
That's why it's part-time.
Yeah,
I think you'll struggle at 20, so I have no issue with it.
okay with you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then, all in favor of the motion of it being changed to 20, say aye.
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 Thank you. Anything else on that, Doug?
No.
All right. The next item is the adoption of the 2022 budget. Doug?
Yeah, and I gave you guys a highlight sheet that you should have in front of you. If you don't, I got some extra ones here. And for the total budget for this next year is going to be $10,693,431. That'll be a decrease of about 1% or $111,033. So that will drop. One of the things about this year's budget, as you go down there, the two things, as you remember back in our May meeting, where the fire, the 1111 and the 1312 Park and Recreation Fund, since we don't pay into their general fund anymore, that I've removed it, and I've talked to DLGF, Craig from Angie's office, removed them from the line in our budget. So you'll see the document you signed tonight. You won't see fire in there, and you won't see Park and Rec. So really, when we look at our budget, we're basically looking at the general fund and township assistance. The township debt service fund and the fire building debt fund is preset. I can't do anything about those, as most of you probably know. I have moved the capital outlay out of the general fund, and I've moved it to the rainy day fund. Now, I put $40,000 into the the rainy day fund, and that's not saying we're going to use it, but I've got money in there because I do have some things that I'd like to do this next year, but it doesn't mean I'm going to get to it. But anyway, when you look at our general fund budget, the capital outlays or category 4 is 0. Okay? Now, going to the general fund, if you noticed up there, it's went up $35,800, an increase of 4%. And since we don't have the 1111 fund, the fire fund anymore, and that's what we paid for things that we did to the fire station down here. Since we don't have that anymore, we now are taking it out of the general fund. So I increased that $40,000, and so we're only increasing it at $35,800. So that's why that's up. I will tell you that everybody in my office, Debbie, myself, and Donna, I'm giving us all a $2,500 raise, and I want you to be aware of that. If you go down through there, we've increased our accounting services by $10,000. Our cemetery and weed control, we've increased $20,000, and that's due to the we're going from 4 cemeteries down to 3 cemeteries, because I found out earlier this year that Pleasant Grove Cemetery is the county's property of the county, and they are going to take that over January 1st. But I've increased it for next year because I've got people coming in to do some work on these headstones at all three of our cemeteries. We need to get those back up to par. I've kind of slacked off lately. So we needed that. And then if you look at landscaping, Doc will probably remember this one. Going back to landscaping at 106th and College, I've removed that $5,000 because since the city of Carmel is the responsibility of them now, and whenever they're supposed to, this next year, supposed to be putting a roundabout in down there, I decreased that by $5,000. We won't need that anymore. Legal notices, I've decreased it $2,500. Telephone service decreased $6,000. Veteran gas, we've decreased it $11,800. And the thing that's killing us too, this property tax cap impact is $237,000 that we lose from now on. Or that's what it is next year. We're going to lose in our budget. So that tax cap has really been a killer for us because it seems to be grow. I told Angie, I said, well, one of these days we're going to be paying people back because we're going to budget for our tax impact cap because we're paying. I mean, we're getting very little dollars from property taxes through this because of this. Now I know the debt is one of the problems of why it is the way it is. So, I mean, it's a little bit of our responsibility too. But anyway, that's the general fund. The Township Assistance Fund, again, it goes up $2,500. It's a 1% increase. But again, your property tax cap on that is $63,000 we lose out of there. So, you know, it's kind of crazy. The park non-reverting capital fund is $2.6 million. There's no change there, and basically that's lit money that comes in every year, and we're expecting for next year of getting $3,532,519, which is a decrease of $994,000, so almost $1 million next year in lit. Now we'll get some more. I think what it is, in November, they'll update that because what they'll do is 2 or 3 months toward the end of the year before, they'll tell us, well, we're going to up you or we're going to take you down. So hopefully we don't go backwards and we go up because we're already losing between this year and next year a total of, like I say, $994,000. So, again, that's why we stopped some of the things, you know, from the grants and stuff. I mean, we're losing that kind of money really hurts us, but that hurts on us. So, and then, of course, the township's debt and the fire building debt is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, we really don't, it has nothing to do with our office other than we pay the bill when the property tax money comes in, we pay it. So, that's pretty sad. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Like I told you, the 2 dormant funds, the fire and the park and rec fund is no more. It's not even a line item anymore or a fund anymore. So because of May, when we close those, we move the excess money into the rainy day fund.
Can we have a motion to put this into our record and we will talk about it?
So moved.
Second.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
Well, how much did the Parks Capital Funding, you anticipated increase? What was that?
No, you mean
The 1111, is that 1111?
no, you mean the 1215?
1215,
The
excuse me.
1215, yeah. Well, what it's going to do, it's going from, gosh, I'm trying to think here.
So there's 2.6 in there now.
Well, that's what they budget every year. They get over $3 million a year from there.
And but
Okay.
it's our, as I recall, we are to keep $2 million in there at all times. That was part of the agreement with the parks. So anything above that, I mean, what I'm getting at is this is a nice windfall for the Parks Department. I'm sure Michael will be happy.
Yeah, well, I think it's around 6 million right now. I don't have the sheet with me.
But he's committed all, I mean, he's already, in his budget, spent that.
Yeah,
But you're saying, I thought I heard you say it was gonna increase by a lot more than what was anticipated.
No. Well, what I'm saying is, right now, we know for next year, we're getting 3.5 million.
That's what I was asking.
Okay, that's what we're getting next year. And, I don't know, about 80%, 90%, 80 to 90, 85% of that it goes to the park fund because of Central Park's debt.
Sure.
Okay, so they're gonna be getting over 300 or 3 million out of that. Now, I'm sorry, back up. They're gonna be getting about 3 million. Yeah, about 3 million they'll be getting. I was right. But again, Michael will call me because he budgets the 1215 fund. He will say, okay, Doug, out of that lit money, I'm going to put, I want 2.6 million to go in there for next year to budget. So that's in category 4 of the 1215 fund. That's what we put in there. And then he breaks it out however, and Debbie does that then. But usually it's around that every year. So the excess still goes into the fund. It's just not budgeted. Sure. They'll have to do the additional appropriation, which they normally do every year. But I think there's like around 6 million, I believe, in there right now, Matt. So, I know they got plans for that money, but and that's good. But Michael does a good job.
Yes.
Any questions? I don't have any. I think you explained it really well, and we thank you for that. May we call for the question? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No opposed. We're down at information items, Doug.
Okay, I don't have anything. Our next meeting, I will tell you, well, I'll do that announcements. I have nothing.
All right. Financial questions from the board? Paul?
Not at this time.
Matt?
No, ma'am.
All right. I don't have any. Board comments?
Nothing this time.
Matt?
So I guess there's a little bit of confusion. We learned about this potential name change over the weekend, and it was pitched to me two things. One, are you changing? Was consideration to change the name of the organization as a whole? So that's issue one, because that's how it was presented to some of us. And then number two, and this, by no means do I mean this to come across in any way other than just informative, but the Carmel Clay Historical Society really has no say in the name of the building. So all of this is a moot point. It'll all be agreed upon in the operating management agreement, just like we did at Badger, and naming rights and everything else. And of course, if you want to name it something, we'll agree so long as we like it. Ultimately, it's
Our choice.
but the name of the building, and I think that's where some misunderstanding was with just people talking, was that the name of the organization was changing. The name of the building doesn't impact us one bit, because ultimately you guys will present something and we'll decide whether we like it or not. That's the way the operating agreement will be. That's the way it is at the fire station. That's the way it is at Badger Field. That is nothing new. That's standard across the state for any kind of, what are these called? Lease. The name of the bond.
Rental lease?
Rental lease bonds. So your attorney and our attorney will be negotiating that, and that's when the time to discuss the name of the building will be. Because right now, it seems like, and I understand the excitement of your board, but they seem to be jumping ahead several steps all along the way. And this is a slow process. We move at the speed of government, and I'm sorry, but that's how things get done. So when we get to there, and I think we're probably a couple weeks away from that. So an update on the building is there's not much of an update. We're still getting financial analysis done, although I did get a phone call on Thursday saying that it was looking good with some of these new changes to try to make all of the room space and square footage stay the same, just modifying it into two things is looking more promising. But that's really the only update I have. As soon as we have anything, after I share it with Doug and Mary and Paul, you guys will be the first to know. So I would tentatively put a block out maybe 2 weeks from now for a kind of update meeting with the society and the architect to go over what there is. I know Dan has drawn up some, 3M has drawn up some, Studio M has drawn up some new renderings. Our owner's rep's out of town this week. Even he's allowed to take vacations. So I don't have any of that right now. I hope to at the beginning of next week. So I think, as Doctor, thank you for speaking. I think this is a non-issue. Everything's going to be worked out, and I do not foresee Clay Township being dropped from the board. In fact, if the original renderings still had Bethlehem in a cornerstone. So if this is all we're talking about, I think this has been an issue that has blown up.
Blown out of proportion.
Way blown out of proportion. Because the name of the building is, that'll all be done between the attorneys and approved between both of us. And to put you at ease, we would not agree to a building that didn't have Clay in the name, so we'll get there.
Great. Any other questions that you'd like answered? All right. Anything more, Matt, on the other projects?
No, I've got no updates.
Okay. Anything else? We thank you for coming. It's always great to have input, so we're not making decisions without listening, and it's really important, so we thank you very much. Doc, you're always welcome. You can have the mic and tell all the stories you want. Time for adjournment. May I have a motion, please?
Announcements.
Whoop, announcements. Doug, I almost forgot.
And just listening to Matt, I think what we'll do is, the next meeting is November 16th. And that, unless, but if you think we need to have a meeting,
Well,
we'll leave it we'll leave it at that, but I need to definitely have one December 14th, okay? We definitely have to have one December 14th, but November 16th, right now, we're having one November 16th, unless,
if I could propose something, keep that on the calendar, but I think we're just waiting on a few more things from Brian. I think he's got everything he needs. He's retooling some of the language for this COVID relief bond that we're doing. And then as soon as we get that, I think we should, that'd be the only thing on the agenda, wouldn't it? In the
possibly.
November
This
meeting.
is the thing, in December, we're going to have an additional appropriation, okay? And so December the 14th, the cutoff is December 15th.
Oh.
So I got to be real careful. If something would happen, that could hurt us. So we'll leave November 16th and go ahead and just leave everything in place at November 16th.
I agree, and then Angie, that way, if it's determined, and I'll use the Historical Society as an example because they're here, that something needs to be spent up front before the bond's executed, and the 14th meeting, we can do a reimbursement resolution and go ahead and include that in the appropriation. Is that an accurate?
So we would have time to do that additional appropriation and get that done.
That way, we're not waiting on the bond to get funded to start doing things.
Yeah, so we'll see you November 16th, okay? That's a good, after hearing you talk, I'm thinking, wait a minute. That's cutting it too close on stuff, so. Thank you very much.
Anything else?
That's it, no, that's it.
All right. Adjournment. May I have a motion, please?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
I'm sorry, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
What time?
The time is
6:30.
6:29. Well, fraction.
29, 6:30,
Yeah, going on 6:30.
whatever.
Angie.